Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can confirm that the live stream and recording has begun.
Okay,
Therefore-
thank you. Council, we are going to continue the meeting in open session now, and I turn to the clerk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you're ready to resume, I have a motion put forth by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that Council reconvene the regular meeting and that Council adjourn the in-camera session and do now rise with report that the clerk be directed to conduct a vote for the direct appointment of an applicant to Town of Pelham Council. That the CAO and Manager of People Services be and are hereby authorized to undertake the directions provided in the in-camera meeting of April 16th, 2025. To you, Mr. Mayor. Just for a vote.
Oh, so what do we, I'm sorry.
We're rising with a report that I have been directed to conduct the vote for direct appointment today.
Yeah.
And that the Manager of People Services be authorized to undertake the direction of
We're voting
council.
on this whole process.
That is correct.
I'm sorry. Any comments, questions on the process we're about to delve into? Not seeing any. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to the consideration of applications for Ward 1 Town Pelham vacancy. Per the council vacancy policy, Mr. Mayor, I will preside over this vote. I will call on each member of council in alphabetical order by surname. Each member shall indicate their chosen candidate by verbally stating their name. The applicant who receives the majority of the votes will be deemed the successful candidate. If no candidate secures the majority of votes, the applicant with the fewest, along with those who receive no votes, will be eliminated. In the event of a tie for the lowest number of votes, I will randomly draw one of the tied names from a hat, and that individual would be eliminated. And this process will continue until a majority winner is selected. Okay, so to begin, we have Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Frank Adamson.
Thank you, and Councillor Hildebrand.
Marianne Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor Junkin.
Bryce Bonarski.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr.
Bryce Benarski.
Thank you, Councillor Niznik.
Bryce Narski.
And Councillor Olson.
Bryce Benarski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have reached a majority of votes for Bryce Brunarski. So it appears that Bryce Brunarski is our successful candidate, and as such, I would be looking for a mover and a seconder on the following motion. Be it resolved that Bryce Brunarski be provisionally appointed as Ward 1 Councillor for the Town of Pelham, which is anticipated to occur on May 7th, 2025. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Wink, you all put the motion forward. I need a seconder. Let's go with Deputy Mayor Wink, or Deputy Mayor Eckert. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And for the vote, please.
Any other comments? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to the adoption of council minutes. I have a motion put forth by Councillor Rink, seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. Regular council meeting of March 26, 2025. To Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments, questions on these minutes? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the request to lift consent agenda items for separate consideration. If there is any item on the agenda, the consent agenda, which council would like to lift, now would be the time to do so.
Okay. Any items on the consent agenda that any councilor would like to lift? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the consent agenda. If any members of council wish to speak on a topic, now would be the time, and we can call that by category for ease, beginning with minutes and recommendation sheet from the public meeting.
Okay, thank you. Anyone want to speak to any of those items? I see Councilor Nesnick possibly. No? Okay, thank you. I don't see any hands up, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. That brings us to staff reports, which include the quarterly reports, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any councillor have any comments on the quarterly reports? Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have two reports. I'll deal with the Clerk's Department first of all. I had an opportunity this couple weeks ago to help a resident from another municipality. I guess they thought I was their help with regards to an AMPS report. And I read the clerk's report that we had 31 AMPS records for the clerk's department, which was significantly higher than last time. I presume the application process is similar to that municipality. You fill it out online, you give all the details, and you ask for an in-person meeting or an email response. They asked for an in-person meeting, and the result was the next day they got an email back saying the issue had been resolved and the violation had been canceled. So I just wanted to question the clerk's department, what the process is here in Pelham with regards to the same thing, because I believe that people can spend a lot of time arguing their case if they come in the office and talk to the clerk's department, just because they have the time to do it. So I guess I just want a little more explanation of whether everything is held in person. If a person says they want an in-person meeting, do you have to have an in-person meeting? Thank you.
To the clerk.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the counselor. We do give the option to the appellant. They have three options. They can receive a written screening over email, they can receive a virtual screening via Zoom, or they can do an in-person. So we do honor their request, and we do honor their timeline for that request. In terms of waiving a penalty prior to a screening, that is only known to happen when there has been an error on the ticket, so it doesn't happen that often.
Counselor?
So continue on with that. So if a person asks for an in-camera or
In-person,
in-person
yep.
meeting, that's what we honor, regardless of circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. We will, if that is their preference, that is what we'll honor.
Seems like we've got a lot of requests if we had 31 so far this year. It may be a high demand item. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And is that, I thought you had two, that was it?
Well, the other one was the tenants.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments on the level that we're discussing right now? Okay, I'll turn to the clerk.
Okay, that brings us to action and information correspondence.
Oh, sorry, I thought
Oh, wait a
just
minute.
that one issue.
No, just
Oh,
all
no,
staff reports.
No, just on the,
Yes,
Council Nesnick.
Sorry, just a comment, or I guess a question for either legal or Mr. Cook or Mr. Marr, through you, Mr. Mayor, just with regards to 13.3.7. So this is the annual report for sanitary sewage collection, and I see down on page 7, there were some consumer complaints. I'm just wondering, so it looks as though, so particularly the second one, January 27th on Quaker Road, discovered a fully collapsed lateral requiring emergency repairs. A contractor working within the town's right-of-way accidentally bored through the lateral, causing damages. The repair was complete on February 20th, 24th. So due to that being a contractor, I guess, first of all, did the town contract that out to that person? And then what's our responsibility to that homeowner with regards to the damages that were occurred in the basement?
So, I'm sorry, did our town legal perhaps on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Niznik. I was trying to find exactly where you were at in the report and wasn't able to do so, but I think the answer to your question is twofold. Firstly, if there is a contractor involved, typically the town requires certain protections from the contractor as a condition of issuing the permit to work on town lands. So there would likely be some protection there. And then insofar as the homeowner is concerned, there's a fairly detailed body of law about the extent of municipal responsibility for incidents of this type. There can be no liability in nuisance, and there can be no liability unless there's evidence that the town did or failed to do something that contributed to the incident. So there's a negligence piece there. So there is an onus on the person who's sustained the damages to demonstrate that the town did something wrong.
Councillor?
Well, it appears in this instance that the contractor did something wrong. So, so that means that it's up to the resident to pursue that and prove that? when it's already been acknowledged that that has occurred?
To Ms. Sturton?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Niznik, I think that would go back to the first part of my answer, which is the conditions of the contract would likely impose the liability on the contractors. So without knowing more about the specific instance that we're discussing, and I also am mindful of how far we can go in open session, I think the primary responsibility in that scenario would be with the contractor by virtue of the contract with the town.
Councillor?
Okay, that makes sense to me. So the contractor should, so the resident, if need be, should be working with the contractor to help with damages, in my opinion. Whether that's relevant or not, I'm not sure, but.
To Mr. CAO?
This isn't a forum for us to assess liability, but as a basic fair statement and proposition, the town, through its tendering, purchasing policies and contracting after the fact, essentially requires third parties to have certain levels of insurance. That means they have to pay for those contracts of insurance. It means we also pay more for the work to be done if we didn't. But so a liability is part of the cost determination by bidders to figure out how can I make a profit and how do I assess risk. And so essentially, most municipalities pay more money for services that are rendered, and they also typically require third parties rendering services to have insurance in the event that things go badly, so that the municipality doesn't have to pay unexpected costs, but it pays higher default operating costs because we require more or less everyone who does business with us to have insurance. And so that is the basic structure of this municipal operation.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. Councillor Nesna?
Yes, okay, that makes sense to me. So thank you. We'll leave it at that and go forward. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Yes, directed question to the fire chief in regards to bylaw. Shaking, no? Okay. I'll go to our solicitor then. No, I notice in your report, sir, that there's was a warning issued to an industrial cannabis facility, a warning, and I noticed that there was actually a penalty issued as well. Is that an administrative penalty notice? So that's a ticket, a fine that's been issued. Is it purposefully left out the name of who they went to? Or are we allowed to know that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll let legal answer that question.
To the CAO, I believe we do have a, and without stealing the CAO, we do have a report coming to council in a few weeks. Mr. CAO, clarify that perhaps?
Okay then. As a default operating policy, firstly, whenever any entity faces charges in the Canadian legal system, those are de facto public realm information things. So if someone's been charged, although not all newspapers report on it and not all governments make specific announcements, the fact that charges exist against an entity are public domain propositions. That being said, the town of Pelham does operate and does not specifically identify. We issue AMPS charges for alleged parking infractions, for noise violations, for dogs off leash, and for odor violations, which most commonly are as a result of cannabis. So we do have a default corporate policy of not identifying specific individuals, just like we don't name all the people who specifically have parking tickets. So that's answer number one. And answer number two, that is partially unrelated, we do plan to provide council with a litigation update and on the cannabis file at a future meeting in roughly 4 weeks from today. On that specific general topic, there's more information coming council's way. As a general operating procedure, we will always follow the dictates of council, and the fact that charges have existed can be made into the public realm, but that is not how the town currently operates.
Deputy Mayor Eckert?
Yep, thank you for that. So if we're asked, we can say that there has been a charge laid, but we're not giving out at this point in time. And it is public. If they want to go find out who it is, they can. Same thing with the press, could go and find out who it is. But we don't publish it, is what you're saying.
I think that's a fair synopsis and was a lot shorter than the way I said it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? I turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The last category is advisory committee minutes.
Okay. Any comments, questions on those consent agenda items? I'm not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there's no further discussion on the consent agenda, I therefore have a motion put forward by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that the consent agenda items as listed on the April 16th, 2025 council agenda be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. One last time for any council member on any items, or just leave it open one last time. I don't see any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to staff reports requiring action. Our first item is 15.2.1, 2026 Municipal and School Board Election Alternative Voting Method Recommendation Report. And I have a motion put forth by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that Council receive Report 2025-007 for information, that Council approve the use of vote counting equipment such as optical scanning vote tabulators for the 2026 Municipal and School Board election. Then that Council approve the use of online voting as an alternative voting method for the election, and that Council approve the use of advanced voting for the election, and that Council directs staff to work with the Niagara Regional local municipalities regarding a joint procurement of election voting equipment, and that the clerk be directed to prepare the bylaw on vote counting equipment and alternative voting methods for Council's consideration prior to May 1st of 2026. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you. Any councillor questions or comments on this item? Pretty straightforward report. Obviously, we are asked to choose option one or to go with option two. Madam Clerk?
The recommendation is actually input into the resolution, reading that Council approve the advanced voting use of online voting.
Yes.
If Council would like to make an amendment, they could slot in another option.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. And my question to you, reading on the option two, everyone in the town will be getting a specific code to that person in order to get to the town voting website. They will get that in advance, whether it be 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Is that correct?
That is correct. So every elector will receive a voter notification card. This election, that voter notification card would be inclusive of an online voting code. And should they choose to pursue that option, it would be there up to them and available.
Or they can just ignore that and go on the voting day to the MCC.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on this motion? I see none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to our next report, which is 15.2.2, Amendment to Bylaw 89-2000, Community Safety Zones. And I have a motion put forward by Deputy Mayor Eckert, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be resolved that Council receive Report 2025-0097 for information, and that Council approve Bylaw 21-2025 in principle to amend 89-2000 to designate community safety zones in the town of Pelham. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent, thank you. Any comments on the implementation of these safety zones? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Motion, and I see none against, so the motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next item is 15.2.3, Emerald Trails parking lots. I have a motion put forward by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0095 for information, and that staff be directed to transfer $37,245.45 from the Parks and Recreation Reserve to the Public Works operating budget to satisfy the town's obligations as they pertain to construction of 2 parking lots in Emerald Trails subdivision. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on this report? It seems that they have some stability problems with it. I'm asking for more, correct?
Oh, sorry, I would defer that to Public Works.
Oh, Jason, to the Director of Public Works, any comments on this report? It's pretty straightforward, just seems they ran into some problems with stability, is that correct?
Yes, through Mr. Mayor. So the area that was excavated for the parking lots had organic materials that needed to be removed prior to the construction of the parking lots.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And this money is just because of that instability then, and they have to dig further out, I guess that's the problem?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so it wouldn't have been further out, it would have been deeper and backfilled with suitable engineered materials to support the parking lot structure.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? See none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to 15.2.4, recommendation report for 286 Canberra Road. I have a motion put forward by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0094 for information, and that Council direct planning staff to prepare the bylaw for the zoning bylaw amendment for Council's consideration. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions, comments on this item? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? See none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. That brings you to 15.2.5, recreational space allocation policy update. I have a motion put forward by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0091 for information, and that Council approve the proposed policy S70106, recreational space allocation policy. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And if I may, I'll turn to the Director of Recreation. We spoke before the meeting, more or less just to put everything that your department does into writing. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. We have always had our allocation policy. There's been some procedures that we have been conducting on a normal daily basis that needed to be updated to be included in the policy. And the policy was reviewed by the user group committee, and they also agreed with the policy, so now it's updated.
So all is good.
All is good.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next report is 15.2.6, Pelham Finance and Audit Committee Terms of Reference Membership Composition Amendment. And I have a motion put forward by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0093 for information, that the clerk be directed to amend the PFAC's terms of reference to allow for up to 3 town councillors and up to 5 resident representatives, and that the clerk be directed to prepare an amendment to reassign Wayne Olson's membership classification from a town council representative to a resident representative on the Pelham Finance and Audit Committee, as well as the Environmental and Climate Adaptation Committee for Council's consideration at the next regular meeting. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions? I'll go with Councilor Niznik.
Yes, thank you. So just some comments. I think I recall when we first were setting up terms of reference and membership composition that we increased the counselor complement, let me put it that way, from 2 to 3, and then we had the 3. I think one of the concerns here was worrying that this committee would get too onerous if it got too large, so they wanted to keep it quite small, if my memory serves me correct. Certainly with Mr. Olson's shift to regional council, I'm happy to take on that committee as a counselor. It would be good learning for myself. So in terms of maintaining the three, I'm fine with being the representative on that, unless the new counselor would really like that position, but I'm certainly willing to step into those shoes for that. So just wondering why you feel the need, I know you've mentioned why you feel the need to go from 3 to 5, but would that just not make this committee too onerous and too large to deal with, is I guess my question. I don't know whether that would go to the Director of Corporate Services or to the whoever.
I see Mr. CAO is reaching for his
I definitely don't
volume.
think staff should have any opinion about that.
Okay.
But I would say that when people want to volunteer their time and talents, generally speaking, I hope we are open to receiving them. But we're very happy to have committees of whatever size council deems appropriate for the community. This is absolutely an appropriate council decision. Happy to take direction.
Thank you. Any comments? I'll go to Councilor Kerr.
Yes, having, and I'm following what Councillor Niznik said and others and worries about things. When I did my graduate research, we found the optimum size was 7 for any group. 5 was considered small, 9 was considered big. They found that 7, so that you had an odd number of people per se when you got into discussions and you could rationally go through. So looking at what we've got, it's up to 3 counselors and up to 5 residents. In theory, that means you're at 8, which is there. My own instinct would be 3 counselors and up to 4 residents, and I would be quite content with that. 5, I think, is going over the top, but I'm playing the academic now and saying that 7, anything 7 or less is generally a better number to work with.
Thank you, Councilor Kerr. Go with Councilor Wink.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at the report, there's maybe an amendment or a clarification that has to be noted on here, that unlike other committees that we have, the counselors on this audit committee have voting rights. And I went on the terms of reference online. It doesn't say that they do or they don't, but I recall when we first set this up that we had voting rights. So until this, from the beginning of our term until now, Councilor Olson, Deputy Mayor Eckert, and myself voted on all matters. So just for clarification, that's how this committee operates. Also, anyone's able to come to these committee meetings, and Mayor, you've come to some meetings and whatever. So if any counselor wants to come to a committee meeting, they can do so. If they want to learn more or get an understanding on what's happening with the goings on and whatever. But just to clarify, and the other 2 counselors can kind of chime in, that we in fact do vote on this committee.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Councilor.
Oh, and one more thing. I agree with what Councilor Kerr was saying. I find it, right now, we've got 3 people from the community and 3 counselors on there. It creates a bit of awkwardness because it's never come to it, but you could have a tie vote because of that. So I agree that 7 on the committee would be better than what we've had.
Okay, thank you. And again, when I can remember that 2 terms ago, and we were talking about this, we were cognizant of the fact that we didn't want too big a number, but at the same time, if it's, it does seem kind of like one more, at 3-3, as you say, the possibility is there. So just leave it at that. Thank you. Any other comments? Then I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the recommendation stands at this time, it does recommend up to 5, but perhaps it sounds as if council would like to make an amendment to potentially reduce that number.
Okay.
Now would be the time if that's the case.
Okay, Councillor Kerr?
Okay, to strike 5 to
Move
4.
to strike from 5 to 4.
Okay, and a seconder, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, seconder on that motion? Councillor Hildebrand?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and a vote.
Okay, and so any other comments to Councillor Nesnick?
Yeah, so just, for transparency's sake, so if we're moving to increase the resident component from 3 to 4, which is fine to do that if we want to, then should that fourth one not be advertised and applied for rather than just having flip over Councillor Olson into that membership, like we do every other committee? It's open to everybody, because it sounds as though it's a very popular committee and all residents might have some interest, and should it go back to that or not?
I will ask the...
So I just wondering if we should split the motion.
Yeah, Madam Clerk? Oh, well, let me go to Councillor Wing. Sorry.
So to sit on this committee, there's a special skill set. So it's not, it is open to everyone, but really they should have some type of financial background to be involved in this particular committee. You can't have the grocery clerk being on this committee because the expertise isn't there. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and on the committee, I believe what you're saying about how many we have, do all of them have, I guess Councilor, Deputy Mayor Eckert is the only one that doesn't have his CPA or CA, is that correct?
Well, I don't.
Okay,
But
a lifetime in the.
But I've worked
financial
40
business.
years in financial services industry,
Yes,
so.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, your point is well taken. Thank you. Councilor Nesnick?
Yes, I realize having some knowledge of finance and budgeting and that sort of thing is a key skill set that's required. However, only the person who applies for the position knows what their skill set is and would be able to express that skill set. A grocery clerk may be working in a grocery clerk store, but they may have an in-depth knowledge of finance that we are not aware of. So to limit it only to people so I think an application process would be a better route to go, is what I'm saying.
So I'll turn to the clerk. Are we indeed, do we have a policy on covering this?
It would be council's decision on that, but if council would like to move in that direction, we currently have an amendment on the floor, however, to strike from 5 to 4. Following this, council could introduce a new amendment or perhaps split the motion. I would just remind council that that clause deals with both the Pelham Finance and Audit Committee as well as the Environmental Committee. So perhaps an amendment would be more appropriate should council wish to remove that piece.
Okay. Is there wish on council to have an amendment?
So at this time, we do have an amendment on the floor to strike 4 to 5, so we'll have a vote on that, and then we'll
Yes.
move forward afterwards.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's what we're going to do right now is have
Correct.
this vote.
Yes, unless there's any further discussion on the amendment.
Right now, we're going to go from 5 to 4, and that's what the discussion is on. Is there any discussion on, before I call the vote, going from 5 representatives to 4
For the public.
for the public? I'm not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor of that amendment? Okay, and motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Typically, that would bring us to the motion as amended. However, if council would like to bring any forward any other amendments, now would be the time.
Okay, yeah. Councilor, Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Yes, appreciate the comments made by everybody. I'm leaning towards, or I have leaned towards Councillor Niznik's comments. And it's certainly nothing against anyone, but I don't have a really good feeling about just flipping somebody over and appointing them without giving an opportunity to other members of the public to
I
do the
believe you're
same.
talking about transparency.
Yes, and thank you. And so rather than, Councilor Olson made a decision to leave council and go to regional council, and he was successful in that. And now it's but keeping a toe in over here, and I just don't have a really good feeling about just automatically flipping his appointments to those councils over. So I would be leaning towards what Councillor Niznik is suggesting.
Yeah, and I think that's, I think it's a valid point, to be honest with you.
I mean, as Councillor Wink said, fortunately, we have not had, I mean, we functioned very well for 2 years without having any tie votes and things like that. So, you know, if it's going to take a month or whatever to get somebody to apply that we can look at, I don't see that there's going to be a huge issue with it. And especially if we don't reappoint somebody to fill Councillor Olson's position, we're now in a non-tie situation for a little while, so.
Okay, yep, okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yep, and I'll go to Director of Finance.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to bring some clarification from the terms of reference. The member at large needs to be a chartered professional accountant, and we specifically wanted the designation because, as Councillor Wink said, the person needs to understand the financial statements and other discussions that we're having. Council members are different. They don't have to have it because you're an elected official, but the members at large have to be a CPA.
Thank you for bringing that to the surface. And so that is a stipulation then. Okay, thank you. Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, I guess following the lines of Councillor Eckert and Councillor Niznik, for simplicity's sake and rather than setting precedent or anything of doing this, personally I would amend it such that that last paragraph be removed. Councillor Olson can hand his name in. It can follow that process rather than embedding it within this at this particular time. I mean, there's not, I think we're all agreed that Councillor Olson's excellent and the rest of it, but it would follow process. I think that we're trying to be transparent to everybody that it's just not automatically done. That's all.
Yep.
So that's my feeling. If it takes it, I'd make a motion that the third paragraph be withdrawn from this motion and that we deal with it from that perspective.
And I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's definitely an option, an amendment to strike the third clause, or if council would like to vote on that, we can divide the motion into two parts, and council could vote on that specifically, so.
Okay, thank
matter
you.
of preference.
Councillor Olson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you, yes, I think I agree with what's being proposed here, and I'd participate in that in the new method or the established method. I think it's the right way to do it, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Pardon me?
I do believe that council would like to divide this motion.
Yes.
I've received a
Okay.
request.
Is there any objection to dividing the motion?
Or do we just strike the last paragraph? We don't have to divide it. I think we're all in agreement
Yep.
that we don't need, and thank you, Councilor Olson, for agreeing to that. It's for transparency's sake, it's the right way to go.
Yep.
And I think all that we need to do is have a vote to strike that.
Okay.
Okay. And I believe that Councilor Kerr did indicate that he would move that motion, and then a seconder on that amendment.
Councillor Kerr will second. All right. Councillor Wink?
Councilor Wink will second. Okay, thank you. And that's an amendment that the third clause be stricken. And to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So any further discussion, additions on this motion? Don't see it. I'll vote on it. Call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the motion as amended. So as it stands, it's that council receive the report for information, that the clerk be directed to amend the Finance Committee's terms of reference to allow up to 3 town councilors and up to 4 resident representatives. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Very good. Any further discussion on this item?
And if I could just receive a mover and a seconder on that motion as well. Thank you.
Councillor Kerr
Thank you.
and Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Wonderful. And then a vote, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and without seeing any comments, I'll ask a vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. That brings you to 15.2.7, Declaration of 2025 Ward 1 Council Vacancy. I have a motion put forward by Deputy Mayor Eckert, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that Council receive Report 2025-0090 for information, and that Council of the Town of Pelham, in accordance with Section 262 of the Municipal Act, hereby declare Ward 1 council seat vacant, effective immediately following the adjournment of the April 16th, 2025 council meeting. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Not seeing any. Call a vote. All those in favor? See none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 18, the presentation and consideration of bylaws. And I have a motion put forward by Councillor Olson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Eckert. Be resolved that Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following, read a first, second, and third time and do pass same, that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. 19-2025 being a bylaw to prohibit and regulate public nuisances and outdoor illumination. 20-2025 being a bylaw to appoint and remove a Pelham Seniors Advisory Committee member. 21-2025 being a bylaw to amend 89-2000 being the traffic and parking bylaw. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on any of these bylaws? I guess if I may to our town legal, Ms. Durton, we had no public comments on the first one about the regulate public nuisance and outdoor illumination. You received no comments?
Through you, Mayor, to council, no, I received no comments, and I'm not aware of any staff receiving any comments that required changes to the bylaw.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to motions and notices of motion. And our first motion today is presented by Councillor Niznik.
Councilor Nesnick, you have the floor if you wish to read it.
Sure, I can read it. Thank you very much. So through you, I'd like to, whereas the town of Pelham is dedicated to improving access to public services and amenities for all residents and visitors, and whereas the portion of Pelham Street South in the downtown core currently has limited public parking, which may impact access to services, including the local bank and surrounding businesses, and whereas there is a need to improve access to these services in order to accommodate growing usage, support local economic activity, and ensure accessibility for all individuals, including those with mobility challenges. And whereas there may be an opportunity to increase public parking capacity by removing certain decorative items along the street. Now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to explore the feasibility of increasing public parking and enhancing accessibility along Pelham Street, and that staff report back to council with analysis, findings, and recommendations on the feasibility of this initiative.
Okay, thank you. And any comments on this?
Well, just thank you. I think I mentioned it at the last meeting that it does seem to be that there is limited parking, especially in front of the two banks, where I think we could definitely increase some parking spaces, especially for those with accessibility needs. As we move forward, as our town is growing, we want to try and maintain our parking avenues. It may be at the expense of a tree or two, but we'll let staff figure that out for us if possible. So thank you for consideration of this.
Thank you. And Councilor Hildenbrand, you second in the motion. Any comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Uptown parking is a premium, and I think that the decorative features we presently have take up space that could be used for these parking spots. I believe there's alternatives like hanging baskets that would be attractive additions to the greenscaping of our town. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Open it up to council. Any questions or comments on this motion? Councilor Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, if the intention is to remove trees from the streetscape, I would be voting against this if I had the chance and the opportunity in the future, which I won't, but.
Although this motion, council,
Okay.
is just for the staff report.
Okay, well, then I'll vote against it.
No.
No, I'll vote for the staff report. Okay, I know what I'm going to do now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Pardon? Yeah. Councilor Kirk?
Yes, the only question I have is included in the staff report whether specific, if there's additional parking, whether they could be specifically designated for accessible, those additional spots could be marked as. I don't know legally whether we can or can't, but just a question that I'd like to see included.
We'll turn to the CAO.
Well, I can assure you that if we write a report that touches on parking, I don't consider it a complete document unless it discusses accessible parking. There are actually formulas and that guide, but if we don't include that analysis, we haven't done our jobs properly. So such a report wouldn't come back without that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments on the motion? Okay, I will vote for the motion for the staff report, cognizant of the fact that we did have a rather detailed parking study done, but I believe that was, wow, that could be 3 or 4 years ago?
2.5.
Okay, so again, I think that's a great idea, perhaps, to take a look at this. And depending on what the staff report comes back, we'll take it from there. Any other comments? If not, I'll call the vote on the motion. On the motion, all those in favor? See none opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Councillor, for bringing that before Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to your motion, which is moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Wink. Would you like to present that?
Yes, indeed, I will practice my reading skills. Thank you. Whereas the President of the United States has issued tariffs that may result in increased costs for goods and services, creating significant economic challenges for municipalities across Canada, and whereas the town of Pelham must exercise fiscal responsibility and operate within the approved 2025 operating and capital budget to maintain financial stability, now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to review their departmental budgets and identify potential cost-saving measures, including the deferral of capital projects and reductions in operating expenditures where feasible, in order to ensure that the town remains within the approved 2025 operating and capital budget while still maintaining essential services. And further, that staff report back to council with recommended budget adjustments. So my comments are, again, I appreciate the long and detailed budget process that this council and staff partook of all last half of the year to come up with a 2025 budget. I'm thinking that perhaps because of the instability that we are apparently going to be facing for the next 4 years, that a secondary look before we get into the actual spending of said monies would be a diligent step to take in light of the developments that are indeed developing. So that's why I brought the motion forward. Just one last final look as we go into 2025. And Councilor Wink, you seconded the motion. Any comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want this to be a big make-work project, but there is possibly some potential savings and whatever. There's talk about us going into a recession. We don't know if that's going to be the case, but, I think it's prudent that we, knowing the factors that are going into place in the economy, I think it's worthwhile to take a second look to see if there's any opportunities there, with the understanding that we've committed a lot on these capital budgets or capital expenditures already. We've given out contracts and the like. Don't know if there's anything, I'm concerned about certain things that will be nailed with tariffs that will cause extra costs, whether it's on trucks or whatever. So just a second, third look at this and see what if any impacts are going to be hitting our budget. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments. I will go to Director of Finance. Any comments?
Yeah, so
on
through
this?
you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we will take on this request and report back to council.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate those words. Thank you. Any member of council have any comments on the motion as presented? Not seeing any. I will call the vote. All those in favor of the motion? And I see none opposed. Motion carries. And we look forward to the staff report that's called for by the motion. Thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 20. I have a motion put forward by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt. Be resolved that the following bylaw do now be read a first, second, and third time and passed, being bylaw number 22-2025, to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of council of the town of Pelham at their regular meeting held on the 16th day of April 2025. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments? Not seeing any. Call a question. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned earlier, the resignation of Councillor Wayne Olson is effective today, immediately following the meeting. Before we close out today's meeting, I understand both you and Councillor Olson have some farewell remarks.
Thank you. See you around, Olson.
Don't let the doing
Yeah, no, and those, you have others. Wayne, Council Olson, you've been a great addition ever since the people of Ward 1 saw had the chance to put you, elect you to this council. You've served them well. I've heard nothing but good things from the... And loyal, yes. And I've heard nothing but good things from the residents of your concerns for that ward and, of course, for the town as a whole. And I'm welcoming you to the regional council. I'm sure you'll be just as effective there as you have been the 6-1 votes that you have looked over here. Yeah. But no, really, all joking aside, Wayne, I know you're going to function admirably at the other level of council, level of government, and like I say, we're going to miss you down at the town level. Thank you for there. Perhaps before you say any words, I'll ask any other any comments from any councilors. Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Yes, I want to thank Wayne for his insight over my first 2 years on council. It's been a pleasure to sit beside him. He was unable to convince me to make it a 5-2 on many, many occasions, but I do applaud him for his efforts in that way. I do want to point out, though, Wayne, with you leaving, to the clerk, that there is a substantial age difference for the left side to the right side. And I don't want any, especially with the new gentleman coming on, and I don't want any changes to our council seats. No. You agree with that?
And I'll give you back your...
Only your council
I want my
match.
thing back, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert. Any further comments to Council Wink?
Yeah, Wayne, you're no longer a counselor anymore, so I can be a little less formal. Thank you for everything you've done for this council. You brought a lot of pointed questions and good reasoning to the table. You're going to be missed, and I thank you on behalf of the other counselors for all that you've done over the last 4.5 years, I think it is. So, yeah, and again, wish you all the best in your new role.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Wink.
Let's take a step.
Councilor Nesnick.
Sorry, no. Just a thank you from my chair over here. It is always wonderful to sit on this side, and you always come so well prepared. So I always learn at least one thing from you every time we come. meeting. So thank you very much, and I hope you'll continue to stay as involved in the town and all its events as you already currently are involved. So thank you for that, and we look forward to you shaking up that region and doing some good things for the town of Pelham. So thanks. We look forward to seeing that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hildebrand?
Thank you. I'm cheering for you, Wayne. You got a great position to fill in the Transit Commission there. I know you're on the Transit Commission, but now you've got 2 positions you're in. So I'm expecting big things. I tried to get a ride on the Transit Commission to meet you.
Oh, no.
And the earliest ride I could get to get here this morning was 10 o'clock this morning. So I had to hitch a ride with John this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hildebrand. Councillor Kerr?
Yeah, before this devolves in showing my age to a Dean Martin roast, which it could well turn into. And I guess my point is as a newbie coming in, it's always the benefit of listening to the wisdom of others. And ultimately, and I mean this as a compliment, the ability to agree to disagree on many things, yet still come to a conclusion that's in the best interest of the town. You've always held that as a forefront, that it's in the best interest of the town. We may not have agreed on how we get there, but it's always been that, and I've appreciated that, and I know the residents of Ward 1 have been highly appreciative of that, to the point of you're having your routine Friday morning conclaves with people at the grill in Fenwick to catch the pulse of this community. So thank you very much. You're going to do well. You're eager, and that's the big part of it. If you're engaged, it's a benefit for all of us. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Councillors. Councillor Olson, it's your turn, and remember, we agreed on a 30-second time limit.
Therefore, I promise to curb my incontinent tendencies, let's call it. So. No, but I was kind of dreading this meeting, actually, this morning when I got here, and I see everybody again, and we had those really remarkable presentations that we had from Special Olympics, the library, and Restore, and Habitat for Humanity. That was quite a morning to start off with, and that set the pace for me. That set the tone for me in my own mind of how to approach this, because there's a lot of satisfaction from working with those types of things. This has been one of the greatest honors of my life, and I've told you before, I regard my life as a one big apprenticeship, one after another. And you get to a certain age and you break it down and into decades rather than years. But I have been around the sun 77 times now. So, and 3 or 4 things stand out in every decade of your life, and this is one of the things that is really, really important. And I'm proud of the accomplishments that we've made together. I've served on 2 councils, and I mean, you stand on the work that everybody else did before you in so many ways. And now you can see the road to financial stability, and we're developing and improving our roads and our parks and all the things that get done. And the fact that the environment is so strongly on the agenda now, those are really, really important. And I did have one major disappointment, Mr. Mayor, and that was, the number of Christmas lights in North Pelham. I set out at the start of the term to double them and go from 2 to 4. So when you turn around the corner, in all of North Pelham, there's 2 Christmas lights there now, and I think we should have at least 4. And I'm pleased to see that Mr. Cook is nodding his head there and has taken this on as an assignment. My last assignment to him there would be that.
What could be a legacy for you?
Well, if I'm not voting on it, I'll be mentioning it at every opportunity. So. But I do want to extend my appreciation and affection to all the staff members, because we have an exceptional staff, and they're truly exceptional. Words can't describe the service that our staff and people in the town received from them. And it's exceptional where it really counts, and I know that the council and staff will welcome Bryce Bernarski to council, and he'll have the benefit of the knowledge and the skills of staff and council. I joined in the middle of a term, and I'll tell you, it was up to speed very quickly, and I had the benefit of a lot of advice and a lot of support from the town, and I guess finally, I'd just like to say that I wish all of you well, staff and council, as you move forward. This is a critical time. You're addressing the issues that come up, and I think it's important to be aware of the affordability issue and the environmental issues, and I think very well placed to do that, and Pelham's lucky to have a team and a council like they have now, and I appreciate everything that everybody's done for me. So thank you.
Excellent. Again, Wayne, you'll be missed in your spot. Don't forget the new guy. You might want to give him some tips on how to handle his seating person next to him. But
Yeah. As long as he doesn't break my chair.
excellent, very good. I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to adjournment, and I have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of council be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for May 7th at 9 a.m.
Any comments? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor. And it's unanimous. This meeting is closed.